Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Karen Alexander from Texas Tech University, and we are so glad to have you here this evening for the second of our free webinars to help our Family and Consumer Sciences family of teachers with teaching online. The Curriculum Center for Family and Consumer Sciences and the Family and Consumer Sciences Education Program at Texas Tech are jointly sponsoring this event. And we have at the Curriculum Center's website, which is just ccfcs.org, we have a number of free resources that are available. So if you click in our banner, you'll be taken to the page that does say online resources for teachers and educators. It will mention to you some information about what we have available. Here is the upcoming webinars. After tomorrow, we will move it down in terms of the previously recorded webinars and provide both the video and a PDF of the PowerPoint. So just so you know where those materials will be. That'll be on the Curriculum Center for Family and Consumer Sciences website. Really excited to have Christy Storms, who is our Assistant Professor of Practice here at Texas Tech, provide this session on Pear Deck for Google Slides. And she has been really working with Pear Deck for some time, used it in the classroom, has taught some of the undergraduate students how to use it. And I am going to go ahead and turn things over to her while I monitor the chat for her. So Christy, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and I feel like I have the advantage because I'm on the second or third week for some of you using Zoom. So hopefully this will, I'll be able to provide you some good information. Like Dr. Alexander said, I have been using Pear Deck for a while. This was something that Lubbock ISD, I was a culinary teacher there for 3 years here in Lubbock, Texas, and this was something that they adopted and really encouraged us to use as a staff. And I found it to be a really fun and engaging kind of way to get my students involved, and just have found it to be just a really easy to use tool. However, I will say when I first started using Pear Deck, I think we had a whole 8-hour training on it. So you can get lost in here. There's so many features, and I'm just going to kind of give you the overview. One thing that I do want to say is that this is an add-on for Google. So you do need to use Google Slides to make it work. So if you are not sure how to add on a Google add-on, it's really, really easy. And I'll show you in a spot here where I've added some quick little tutorials that you can watch, little 2-3 minute videos on how to do a Google add-in or Google add-on. So I would like you first all to grab either your cell phone or a second piece of technology if you have it handy, and go ahead and open up your internet browser. So I actually made a Pear Deck for us to follow along with, and so what you should be seeing here on my screen is just my Google Slides. So this is what it looks like when you are ready to present your Pear Deck. I have designed it all. And so this is where the Google add-on pane will be. And so you can just go ahead and you guys will be the students, I will be the teacher. And if you just want to follow along, you'll be able to see how it looks from the student end. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. And then once you start it as a teacher, you get to decide, is this something that you want your students to do on their own at their own pace, or is this something that you as the teacher are going to be leading? So tonight, just for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lead this one. So this is where you guys come into play. So I'll give you just a minute. This is what it looks like when you project it. This is what would come up on your projector screen. So if you would all go to joinpd.com, I'll give you just a minute to do that. And then it will ask you for a code. And this is your code right here, NNDFO. New Ninjas Dive Fragrant Olives. It always comes up with these funky, funky little acronyms for the students. So go ahead and I'll wait for some of you to do that. As you can see here, some of the features on this page is you can give your students a link. So this is something that you could post on your Google Classroom. You could send out an email and that'll lead them right to this link. Or you can open up your teacher dashboard, and I'll show you the features of the teacher dashboard here in a little bit. But we have about 28 of you. I'll wait just another minute for people to get there. See if we can get to 30.
So the code, after you go to joinpd.com, the code is NNDFO.
Can you not see that on my screen?
NNDFO. I can see it, but we had it in the chat box. Sorry.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay, so we are set to go. So hopefully on your device, you should be able to see this slide now. Is that where everybody's at? Okay. All right, so this is something I got shared to me the other day. And so this is how we're gonna start, just as a fun little reminder.
Where's the sound?
Dave, your microphone, it's not on.
Click on the button with the picture of the microphone.
Every time a billing calls in, this happens.
Hello? Well, now we can
So
hear you, but
annoying.
we cannot see you.
Every time.
That's like talking to my parents.
So, so if you would all just go ahead and put yourselves on mute, I would appreciate it. That is one of the features that you can use in Pear Deck. Is you can add in videos, you can have it playing just like you can out of a PowerPoint. Okay, so once again, thank you to our sponsors, the Curriculum Center for Family Consumer Sciences, and then also, of course, our department, the Family and Consumer Sciences Education. If you have any students that you think would be great FCS teachers, send them our way. We always need more people to fill our positions. So even if you're from South Dakota, you can still come teach in Texas. I have learned this. So I guess I probably should introduce myself a little bit more. Is Christy Storms. I'm originally from South Dakota. I taught in South Dakota for 7 years. And then decided to move to Texas and work on my PhD. So when I was in South Dakota, I taught a little bit of everything. And then as I moved to Texas, I taught at Lubbock ISD, and I specialized in culinary arts. So then last year, I transitioned from the classroom to teaching at Texas Tech and working with the student teachers. So that is how I am here today. But okay, this slide, this is just some more resources for online learning. Dr. Alexander shared some of these last week. If you were part of her Google Classroom chat, these are really good resources. I added a few. The Pear Deck help link is here, and then how to add a Google add-on, I put that in here, and then just how to do Google Slides, because there is a little bit of a learning curve if you've never done Google Slides compared to PowerPoint. Okay, so these are our upcoming webinars. Once again, tomorrow, Dr. Cindy Miller will be on. She is a wealth of information and is a veteran online teacher. So if you're kind of struggling with some of those management systems, she's going to do a great job. And then next week, Mara Driscoll, who's the instructional designer for the Curriculum Center, will be on. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about making quality videos. And then lastly, next week, Mrs. Hui is going to be on here. She's going to talk about using live binders in the classroom. So if you're enjoying these, please join us next week. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to look at some of the different features of Pear Deck. By no means am I going to get to all of them because there's so many things that Pear Deck can do. But then we're going to talk a little bit about how can you use Pear Deck as a virtual learning tool. And then I'll leave some time at the end for some Q&A and then some idea swapping, because I'm betting some of you are already have used or have heard of Pear Deck. Okay. Okay, so let's see where everybody stands. So this is your first question. It should pop up on your phone or on your device that you are looking at. You should be able to just click at the bottom. It says answer question. Sometimes if I'm using my phone, that little piece gets covered up. So you might have to tap your screen, but it should be down in the bottom right-hand corner of whatever device you're using, and it should say answer questions. So true or false? I have heard of Pear Deck before. So here, this is a great feature of Pear Deck, is I can actually see live what my students are responding. And so especially my undergraduate students have really appreciated how interactive this feature is. So this can spark classroom conversation, and it just kind of gives everybody a chance to gauge where they are. So I can click show responses. Looks like most of you have heard of Pear Deck. And the other really cool feature about this is that when I am done with this session, I actually can save this information. It'll collect all the data that we're gathering from this session. And so then I can go back later and I can use it as a formative grade. I can kind of gauge where my students are. Also, you probably noticed when you logged on to the Pear Deck that it asked you what your mood was. And that is something that Pear Deck is very proactive about, is they really are they are all about doing check-ins for social emotional learning. So I'll show you towards the end here how I will be able to actually see how you answered. And that's actually a really cool tool for me as a teacher. I teach an 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. And so sometimes my students are just not excited to be there. And it was interesting getting to use this tool this fall to see kind of how they're doing. So looks like most of you have heard about Pear Deck. This is the first feature that I wanted to show you in how you design these Pear Decks. Okay, so here are some of those features. First of all, you can ask your students a question just like I did with you all. There's several different levels of that. And then they also have some templates that you can just plug and play into your presentation. And then lastly, there's the teacher dashboard. So like I said, the teacher can see all of their data and all their information. So I'm just gonna pop back here to my PowerPoint, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like on this side as the design side. So the features that I was talking about are over here along the add-in. So when you open up your Google slide and you've already added your add-on in, you're gonna go up here to add-ons and you're gonna say Pear Deck for Google Slides. And then open that add-on. And then when that add-on is open, this is where you will see that. Okay, so you can see here, there's all kinds of options, and honestly, this changes all of the time. So looks like you can get the Pear Deck Pear Deck Power Up, and I'm not even sure what that is. That's a new feature that I haven't checked out yet. Here's the template library, but first what we're going to focus on is this part right here, is ask students a question. So these are the different questions that you can build a slide around. So first of all, you can have your students answer with text, by choice, multiple choice. They can put in a number, they can visit a website, they can draw a picture, or they can drag. And so I've actually designed this presentation to use all of those. So we're gonna kind of work our way through all of those. That first question that I gave you, that one actually was out of a template. And so I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, so here's your next question. So this Pear deck is part of a bigger Pear deck. And I'm gonna do a little shameless plug here for a curriculum that I wrote and will be available soon. It is a farm to table curriculum that will be available through the Curriculum Center. And my favorite unit in this curriculum was on ocean to table. And so oysters was a topic that I covered in that unit. And being from a landlocked state originally and now living in landlocked Lubbock, I find this topic completely interesting. So there is a reason why everything is based around oysters. And so this will be an addition that I'm adding to this curriculum. So you're the first people to get to see it. So the question is, have you ever eaten an oyster? Yes, no, or ew? So a lot of you have, some of you haven't, a lot of you say ew. And so this would be a great time to have that conversation with your students. So those of you that have eaten an oyster, you know, what was the texture like? What was the flavor like? Was it better than you thought it was? Was it worse than you thought it was? And so this would be a really good spot to bring in that student engagement, to really kind of ask them where they are, hopefully trigger their interest and get them involved into the discussion. So that's it. This one is the multiple choice option. So going back over here, that is how I built that slide. So I built the slide just like I would a regular Google slide. And then you have to put in these choice options. So I will go ahead and do that for you right now. So here you go. Sorry, what?
No. I didn't say anything about that. What's wrong with you?
There we go.
Kitty is what? Why are you crying?
Okay, so the question is, have you ever eaten an oyster? So what I would do is I would say yes, no, ew again. Okay, so I would build the slide, I'd design it however I wanted with the pictures.
Oh, I thought it was muted. Okay.
And then I come over here and now I have to re-put in those options. So yes, no, and ew again. Okay, and so once I have those options in, that's how it knows to ask you those questions when we're presenting that slide. So it'll add that, and now that is an additional slide. All right, so that's kind of what that one looks like from here. So the results are that yes, you guys have eaten an oyster. Notice I didn't ask you if you liked it or not. So I guess that'll be the mystery of the night. Okay, so the next one is the text option. So this is how I've designed this slide. Is once again, just like the last one, I went in here and I figured out what I wanted it to look like. And so the question here is, what are the characteristics of an oyster? And so in the actual PowerPoint, I would have already given you some vocabulary, some of these characteristics, and then what I'm asking you as the student to do now is to actually take a few minutes and look up these characteristics. So to build this one, I used the text function. So just like the last one. So if y'all want to go ahead and answer this question as well as you can. So what is a characteristic of an oyster?
How do I do my response?
Vanessa, this is Dr. Alexander. Your phone, you are not on mute. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you mute your microphone, please? Everyone needs to mute their microphone. There are a couple of folks out there that are not on mute. So your microphone should be on the lower right, or sorry, the lower left side of your screen. And if it's on mute, it has a red arrow through it.
Okay, so we will see where we are here. So a slimy whitish gray exterior. Someone doesn't know about oysters, the texture, they're soft in a shell. All oysters taste the same. They have 2 shells, and so on and so forth. Now, the thing that I didn't set up here is, now let's say that you wanted them to just talk about wild oysters. How I would do that is I would do just a slide for wild oysters. And then I would do a slide for farmed oysters, and then I would do a slide for all oysters. Because there's no really good way to distinguish what they're answering here. So, or I would direct them, make sure that you put wild oyster and then the characteristic. So you kind of have to be strategic with your design here, so that you understand. Here we go. Somebody copy and pasted. That's a good way to do it. But once again, this is just a really good quick check-in that can easily be addressed. Dr. Alexander, I'm seeing a lot of chats. Is there anything I need to stop and explain more?
There are a couple questions we've been trying to follow along and answer. So will the students have to have this add-on, the Pear Deck add-on, in order to be able to work in or answer your questions? And then another one is about having the Zoom tab open. And the Zoom tab is open on Christy's computer because she's connected to the Zoom meeting. Yeah. So no, you would not need a Zoom. But can you answer about the add-on
Sure.
for Pear Deck?
Sure. So the students absolutely do not need the add-on, and that is the advantage of. That's one of the advantages of Pear Deck. So when I use it in my classroom, my students literally just use their cell phones or their laptops, whatever they have. So since at the beginning of this presentation, I had you go to joinpd.com and put in that code. That code linked you to this presentation. So it is not something that they have to download or have prepared beforehand. That's a good question. Okay. All right, so that's the text option. Okay. So this one is the website option. And so this one's a little bit different. You should be able to, down here at the bottom, you should be able to see a website. And when you click on it, it should take you right to that website. Now, what I really like about this feature is it has to be a relevant website. It has to be a good, safe, secure website in order for Pear Deck to link it. So it's actually pretty smart. It won't let you just link to a random inappropriate website. So this one is a .gov website, so it let me link that. It let me link, I tried a National Geographic one, it let me link there. But I just tried a random ocean fisherman blog, and it would not link there. So hopefully you're able to get to this. It will pop it open in a new tab. So now to get back to the session, you're going to have to minimize that tab and go back up. Now, what I have always told my students is that please don't close that tab because we're probably going to refer back to it. Okay, so that is something that you're going to have to direct your students to actually do, is to either either keep that tab open or to go ahead and close it. And if you're on your phone, you're going to have to do it just like you're switching between internet pages. It's usually like a little page. So that's something that you may have to do a little bit of teaching on. So was everyone able to get to that? Hopefully it popped you to that website. And once again, this is what it looks like from this side. Anytime that you have added a Pear Deck slide to your presentation, you should be able to see it down here on the bottom. So this is the website. It tells me that the students are going to go browse there. Here it tells me students write your response. So I know that it was the text one. Students choose an option, so on and so forth. So that's how you know what that looks like. Okay. So this is actually one of my favorite features, actually. I oftentimes link them to websites that that they will need to read and get further information. I also will link it to articles and just websites that they can really kind of glean some information on the topic. Okay, so right along with that topic, the next type of question is the draw question. So from that website that I had you go to, which of the following animals or species, marine species, can also live in an oyster habitat? That was one of the very first things that website said. So up here, sorry, I didn't move there yet, my bad. So now you can go ahead and it should pop up. You can do a pen, you can do a marker, you can do 3 or 4 different colors. So you should be able to circle it. Now this is the first one that our answers are going to be a little bit different looking. Okay, so we can scroll through what each of you are actually saying. Okay, so this person said shrimp, stone crab, spotted fish. This one is using orange, anchovy, shrimp. This one didn't follow instructions, but that's okay. Didn't circle. So on and so forth. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, this will be saved for you if you choose to save this session. So once again, another good check-in that you can know that they went and they actually at least looked at the website to be able to answer this, because this is a pretty simple question. So you can have them, some of the templates show them drawing out vocabulary words. There's just a variety. You can have them draw whatever you would like. So that's how you check the responses on that. So just in case you were wondering, these are the correct answers. Now this is not a Pear Deck slide. This is just a regular Google slide that I made a duplicate copy of, and I went in and I circled the correct answers. So as a class, you can then check your answers. Okay. And once again, that's what that looked like from this side. It says students draw anywhere. Like I said, I made a duplicate, and as you can see down here at the bottom, there's no Pear Deck connected to it. Okay. Okay, this is the next option. So this is a drag and drop option. So to be able to answer this, you should have, I think I put 4 or 5 dots of different colors. So you can go ahead and you can move those dots wherever you think those oysters would be. Now, if we were actually going through this presentation, I would have given you some information. So I would have maybe given you some different types of oysters. Maybe I would have said, you know, which area produces the most farm-raised oysters, and put your red dot there. And so hopefully you would give them more direction as you were presenting the information. So if I said, everyone put a red dot where Lubbock, Texas is, let's see how you could do. See if you can put your red dots where Lubbock, Texas is.
Christy, can you have names on the dots?
You cannot, but I will show you at the end when it saves it, it will show you what student put what. So I don't believe that you can just see the names. But at the end, when you get each student's responses, you should be able to see what they put. So, all right, looks like you guys, for the most part, know where Lubbock, Texas is. Okay, now you can change the shapes of the dots. So if you wanted to do 3 different things, like put a star here, put a flag here, and put a dot here, you can do it that way. There's lots of different options for what you're having them put. Of course, you wouldn't have to use a map. You could do this or that, true or false. And there's lots of templates for the drag and drop option. This is a really cool option I've seen. There's just a lot of different ways that you can quickly use this one. So, and it's pretty fun to move those dots around. This is what it looks like on the Google Slide part. So I just put in this map and then I gave you 5 dots. Now you can choose to give them 1 dot, you can choose to give them 10 dots. It's up to you as the designer. And I chose those colors, and I chose that many. I also chose to put the map on here. So this is just literally an image that I took from something else and put it onto my slide.
Okay, Christy, we have a couple of questions regarding the map. So do students get a copy after the session to view their answers and review?
You know, I'm not sure about the answer to that. I do know that there is an option if you go back into here where you can do a review session, and I'm not really sure what that does. Well, so it looks like they can go back in. Looks like they can go back in and review it, is what it looks like that does. But I don't know that it tells them their answers. I guess I never went back and done that. That would be that'd be interesting.
But as a teacher, you said you get them and you could convey that then to the students, right?
Right.
Okay, is there a number of students that can be logged in at a time? Does it matter how many students that you have this? If they are working without the teacher lead, how do they see the answers? So like if they're doing this asynchronously instead of synchronously like we are. So there's 2 questions there.
Sure. So to answer the answer question, this is how I have addressed that. And so I gave them the answers afterwards. That's one way you could do it. I don't know why you couldn't at the end attach a slide at the very end that had the answers, or send them out the answer PowerPoint afterwards. That would probably be how I would address that. As far as a feature within Pear Deck, I don't know that you can do that, but that doesn't mean you can't. I just have never looked for that feature. Okay. And then what was the second question?
Is there a limit on the number of students that can be logged in at a time?
I also have not found that. And I'm going to say that if there is, it's really, really high, because I've had a conversation with one of the upper salespeople for Pear Deck, and he talked about doing trainings with groups of thousands. Okay. And so I would bet if there is, it's got to be big, and I would bet that would be a question that you could email them and ask.
Okay, and then do the students have to have a touch screen, or can a mouse work?
I think a mouse works. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it does, because that's what I was doing earlier. Yep.
Okay, then we'll get some of these other questions a little bit later. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. So then the last option here on the build your own is the number. So now it should be asking you to put in a number. And it kind of gives you a number line here where it gives you an average. And as you can see, everything keeps moving. So some of you put a higher number, so now it's not between. Oh, somebody's putting in a crazy number. So anyway, so the number moves as it needs to. Okay, so the correct answer is here. It's 10 to 21 days or until the food is no longer alive. So that would be a way that you could easily integrate that. Okay, any more questions on the student side? I do want to show you. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Can you show the responses while doing the presentation? I think you.
Yep. So that is just like here. Right now, you can't see the responses. When I click down here at the bottom and show hide response or show responses, that's when you can see. Also, another feature that I haven't shown you is like, especially, let's go back to this one. So everybody was moving their dots and it should have moved you back to this, right? That's what you should be seeing on your devices. And all of you are moving your dots again. I can now lock your screens. And so your answers are your final answers here, okay? Another feature that we haven't talked about is this new prompt. So this is called Pear Pop. And so let's say that you wanted to add something in the middle of your presentation. You can actually add this. So maybe I want to throw in a KWL. This wasn't something I had prepared beforehand, but maybe a topic came up and we decided to run with it. I can throw this into the presentation and have my students answer it. So that's just this new prompt here. And that, once again, is just called Pear Pop. And there's all kinds of different templates. So is the statement true or false? You can throw that in really easily. Okay.
Do they see one another's answers or just their own?
If you would like them to. So I chose to show responses. I do believe that is an option once we get into the teacher dashboard, that you can hide individual responses. Now, this would be as if I was presenting at the front of the room. And so I don't think that there's a way to show individual answers at that point, but if they're doing it just by themselves, I think that you can make it set so they can just see their own.
Okay, and then 2 more questions. So how do you grade it?
In the teacher dashboard, and I'll show you that here in just a second.
Okay, and is Pear Deck free?
It is free. So some of these features are not always free. Pear Deck is running a deal right now. They're doing 90, usually it's a 30-day free trial of all of these bells and whistles that I'm showing you. Now, some of these things are always free. So designing your own over here, I think these first 4 are always free, no matter what. But I'm pretty sure that the draw and the draggable is something that you have to pay for in the premium version. And then also in the template library, which I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you that right now. This is the template library. These are things that they have already developed. And there is not near as many free ones as there are in the premium. So this is the premium right now. So let's say that for example, this true and false one that I put up at the beginning. That's one that is from here, and so you don't always have to start from scratch on all these questions. So if you were wanting to build a bell ringer, or you wanted to do an exit ticket of some sort, this would be a really easy way to do it. So what do you wonder about today's topic? You can actually pop this in there. And then you can actually change, you can type whatever you would like in this spot. And so it's a really easy template to change. This one is a dragging one, so this one would not be free. This would be one of the premium ones, and then the students would actually be able to drag yes or thumbs up, thumbs down. So premium is free for 30 days. Usually, but right now, with the whole pandemic, they are doing 90 days free. So I used up my 30-day trial, I don't know, a month or so ago, 3 weeks ago. And so I was actually really excited because then they actually let me do the 90-day trial on top of my free 30-day trial. So right now is the time to try it out. I will say that some of the feature that if it's a pay for feature, once your trial is over, that feature does not work on your PowerPoint anymore. So you would be able to show this, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to present it like as smooth as it normally is. So I think that answers that question. Just a couple more things about template library. So they have all of these beginning, during, end of lesson templates, but then they also have some just critical thinking, and these are really, really good ones that are just set up for you, ready to go. And then these are the ones that I really think are fun. So this one is moment of silence. It says, as you come in, take a minute for a breather, essentially. Find your seat quietly, take a few deep breaths. So like I said in the beginning, they're really about social emotional learning a whole lot. I think that that's pretty cool. There's one of them that's that says time for a stretch break. I think that's in the during the lesson, where it says time for a stretch break. So I think that that's really cool to throw in here, especially right now as you're doing some virtual learning. This might be a really good reminder for your students to stop, take a breath, get up, stretch out. This is another one. Do you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts out loud right now? If you're presenting this, I think that would be a really good one. It's a multiple choice slide, so that will it'll say yes, no, maybe as their options. And so that's another really good way to start a conversation. Is maybe we don't feel very comfortable, and you can see what student answers what in the teacher dashboard. Okay, so that's the templates. There's specific templates to different content areas. Of course, family and consumer sciences is not one of them. However, as you know, we have math, we have science, we have social studies, we have all of these things within our content. And so I have found things that are applicable in all of those areas.
Okay, Christy, you confirmed this, but we had a question about storing them, saving them, I guess, on your desktop or at Pear Deck. I answered with, I think they are saved in your Google Drive, but that may be incorrect.
So your Google Slides are always saved in your Google Drive. So this document that you can see right now will always be there. However, the student answers will not be in the Google slide, just the presentation itself. So we will go right to the teacher dashboard now.
Okay, and wherever you are right now positioned with your mic, that's where you need to stay because you've been cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, so the teacher dashboard is an option here in Pear Deck. Let's see. So this is what this is what dashboard looks like. So once you get your oh my gosh, login created. This is what your home dashboard will look like. This just talks a little bit about some of the different options here. I showed you that Pear Pop, how you could add that in there. This is another one that is kind of like a flashcard system, the Pear Deck vocabulary. And then also you'll see here, this is all of my PowerPoints, okay? And then here's some blogs that they offer, some how-tos, some help things there. Okay, this is where we really are going to get into what the teacher dashboard can do. Now, the other advantage of the premium is that you get this teacher dashboard. If you do not pay for the premium, you do not get the teacher dashboard. So this is not part of the freebie. Okay, here we go. Nope, there we go. So this is what each one of your sessions look like. So we are in a session right now. Anytime you start a presentation, you are in a session. So we're gonna go right here to sessions. And these are all the sessions that I have done since the 23rd of January. And so it's really pretty neat. Once you click into your session, you'll be able to see how your students logged in, their email addresses. Now, I chose not to collect email addresses for this presentation because I'm not going to keep this data. I'm not going to do anything with it. And I made that choice over here when I was building it. I did not require student logins. So if this isn't something that you want to keep track of, you don't necessarily want the information from it, you don't need to require those student logins. So for this session, I did not collect your email addresses. Now, if I was, it would have asked you for your email address when you first logged in. Okay, you can also publish and share your lessons. There's a sharing spot in the template library that you can find things that people have done. Okay, so this is what my sessions look like. And just for confidentiality, I didn't want to show you my students' names, but once you click on one of the sessions, this is what you get. This is the information you get. So this was a snow day we had in February. It's like, that seems like a year ago that we had that snow day. I said it was 10 years ago, actually, on this. That was a typo on my end. So it told me that this session, I had left it open. So you can leave your sessions live as long as you would want to. And so I left this session open. It was still open until today when I built this PowerPoint. And so that just means that they can go on and they can complete it at their own pace, at their own time. So right here was the list of my students that had logged in, or it gave me all of their email addresses that they used to log in with. And then this right here will tell me their name, and then it'll also tell me if they're actively working on it right now or not. So this one I had assigned in February, and of course none of the students were actually working on it. But if you were hosting virtual office hours or something, this would be a really easy way for you to check to see who's working. And then the other thing that once again, I just think is a really cool feature is this social emotional right here. So how it had you answer at the beginning, how you were feeling that day, it actually gives me that information. So if I was live monitoring this, if I was, once again, hosting virtual office hours or something, I could check in with the student. I could be like, hey, see that you gave me the frowny face. What's up? Is there anything I can help you with? Do you need to come back to this later? So on and so forth. So I think that especially right now and in the time that we're in, I think that this is a really cool feature that is just built in that you may or may not even have remembered was part of that initial login. Okay, so that's what you get. And then you can also click on each one of those individual students and you can see how they answered those questions. Okay, so this is where you would get that information. We already talked about these features. I love this Pear Pop feature. This is a fairly new feature that they didn't have when I was in the high school. I haven't even played with the Pear Deck vocabulary yet. So there's just constantly improving things. And here is my contact information. Go ahead, take a screenshot of this if you would like. But that's Pear Deck in a nutshell. Like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you get the chance, they do offer trainings. I think they do a training every single week. It's in that help option at the top, I guess over here. Right here, if you click on help, you can get into all the different tutorials, and then they do live training sessions all the time too. So.
Okay, we have some more questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we actually had someone who wanted you to show Pear Deck vocabulary, but it sounds like you haven't played around with that yet. So maybe that could be a follow-up session at another point. Sure. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know. If you make a copy of the slides for another class, does that then create new response areas? I'm assuming the old one stays in the dashboard. How does that work so that you can use it over and over?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so we are done with our Pear Deck now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how that works. So once you get to the end, first period is over, all you do here is you click end. And then I can name this Pear Deck webinar 1. Okay, now this is having me publish my students' takeaways. So if I want my students' answers, that's what I need to make sure is clicked. Okay, so if I'm going to go back and I'm going to double check, see how everyone answered, that's what I'm going to click. So save and end, and then it's gonna build that session for me. Okay, so now, here's a new feature that I hadn't actually noticed. I can actually share this. To Google Classroom. So there you go. That's how they can go back and they can review those answers right there. This will give me all the takeaways. So that'll take just a minute. So now if I go back into my sessions tab, this was the session that we started right here. And so actually, this is the session that we started. And so one of them is live right now. So you can see right here that I can go in here and I can see what that looks like, what all the information I got from there. Okay. So the teacher's dashboard. Okay. So now it's over. That's how you go back and check it.
Okay, great. It says in the content area, is there anything in reference to a computer class? I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if that means like a template or.
Yeah, I think that's what that probably means. So we can look. Here are the subject areas. It doesn't look like they offer anything specifically for computers, but they do have a bunch of just blank ones. So it doesn't look like they have anything specifically for computers, but if you went into the community, which I need to click around to see where that is, I'm not sure. But there is a community, actually I do know where it's at, it's in here. If you go back to your homepage in Pear Deck, you can actually find things that people have already developed. And then you can see if they have any there. I'm not sure if they would. So it's right here, the learn and explore areas where you can search for things that people have already created.
Okay. And then does it automatically ask them how they are feeling that social emotional piece, or is that a slide that you add?
So it automatically asks them that every time they log in, but then there was all of these templates that you can add in. So that's those 3 smiley faces. That was something that it automatically asks you that. These are the add-in ones.
Okay. All right. And then, so how do you grade? How do you grade it?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, I probably don't use this as a summative assessment at all. For me, this is a formative assessment. So outside of virtual learning, what I would use this for is if I was gone for a sub. So this is a student-paced learning activity. It'd be a way for me to check in formatively with them to see how they are doing. If I wanted to use this as a quiz grade, I would probably be really cautious about which types of questions I was putting in there. I would probably only do true and false, maybe these multiple choice ones. And then when you go back into your teacher dashboard, you can see how each one of those students answered. So then you could grade it from there.
Okay.
So I guess my piece of advice there is make sure that you have gradable questions would be what I would say.
Good. Okay, great. And then if you are not using Google Classroom, this person uses Schoology. Would there be a problem with using Pear Deck? I would probably not, because it's tied to Google Slides, right?
Right. So you don't have to use Google Classroom at all. It is completely tied to Google Slides though. So even I started building this in PowerPoint thinking that I would just transfer it over. And so that is one con, I would say, of Pear Deck. As you noticed, there was no animation. Whatever animation you put in does not translate to the Pear Deck. And I don't know if that's something that I just haven't figured out yet, or if that is just one of the things you lose with Pear Deck, because even just like this, this slide right here has animation. It works perfect, but then when you go into the Pear Deck, it doesn't do anything. So that would be one thing.
And so you can actually take a PowerPoint presentation and use as well, correct?
Yep, absolutely. So once you can just go to your Google Slides page, and so this is what Google Slides looks like from just the beginning. And you can, I guess you would go to your drive, go to your Google Drive, and you click New, and you would file upload. And let's just say that this is actually a really cool resource too. I'll just show you. So this is a Bright Carbon. Bright Carbon is a professional PowerPoint company. This would be another tool that you could use. So this is a toolkit that I have of theirs. So this is all made in PowerPoint. Now I can open it up with Google Slides. Now I will say there is one extra step you have to do to be able to use Pear Deck. And that tutorial web link that I added, it should have all that information. So in order to make it work with Pear Deck, see right now I've just uploaded it as a PowerPoint. So if you look here on my tools, add-ons are not an option. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that it's saved as a Google slide. So I would go to File, and then I would say Save as Google Slides. And as soon as it loads, if it's gonna load, the internet is going really slow. Looks like my internet is not gonna work very well, but you would see that this is no longer there and Google add-on is there. So we'll try one more time. But that's how you make it able to be added to Pear Deck. So that was just a regular old PowerPoint. Here we go. This time it worked. This was just a regular old PowerPoint. And now I can start building, adding in those Pear Deck slides. You can see that file saving as the PowerPoint is no longer there, and add-ons is now there. And I can just open up my Pear Deck.
Okay, very good. Well, we are at 8 o'clock, so Thank you, Christy, for your presentation. I know I've learned a lot. I wanted to play around with Pear Deck and I just haven't had the chance. So you're giving me the motivation to make that happen. Thank you all for your attendance this evening. If you, Christy, could advance to our last slide, where we do have an open-ended questionnaire for you if you're interested in providing feedback on additional webinar topics, or you can just put them here in the chat because we will be downloading the chat text so that we have that. But we do have a Qualtrics form that we're collecting information for future webinars. And we really appreciate you all. We hope you stay well. Just to reiterate, we will be making the video and presentation available, and that will be on the Curriculum Center for Family and Consumer Sciences website. And we thank you all for your time this evening. Have a great night.